Watch Mr.Wizard. That's what all the kids in the neighborhood call him because he shows them the magic and the mystery of science in everyday living.
Mr. Wizard?
Oh, come on in, Alan.
Hi, Mr. Wizard.
All right. Come on around over here.
What's
See
that?
that? Well, that's a brandy glass called a brandy snifter. Now I have it mounted here on a quarter-inch drill, and watch what happens when I turn it on. See those little white balls in the bottom?
Yeah.
Why?
They form a circle on the top there.
Now watch what happens when I turn it on. Well, you'll see that's going to be very important in what we're discussing today. But before we explain this, come over here. I have a problem for you.
All right.
Very simple little puzzle. See this? Piece of wood,
Yeah.
about 3/4 of an inch thick with plastic on each side.
Yeah.
And up on top here is a little shelf on each side, see? All I ask you to do is to roll the ball up there like that on that side, and now roll that one up on the other side.
All right.
Go ahead. There's a little puzzle about this big with a couple of little tiny balls, and it works on the same principle. You've evidently never seen one. I wondered whether, when you were coming over today, whether you'd ever seen it, but I guess not. Well, good. Then you don't know the secret of how that works.
No.
Well, here, let me see if I can show you now. Instead of using 2 balls like that, let's just use 1. Here. See this ball?
Yes.
It's a sponge rubber ball on a string, and here's a spool, and on the other end is a
Clay.
piece of clay. You hold that now in there and let it go. You know, I want to let it go. We'll see which one is the heaviest. Which is the heaviest?
The clay.
Yeah, the clay is considerably
Yeah.
heavier. Okay, hold it up again. Very definitely, the
Yeah.
clay is. Okay, now, this time I'll hold the clay on the spool. Okay. Now, you throw the ball. Any old way. Why didn't it go flying over there?
Well, the string held it.
Okay, now throw it in that direction. Why didn't it keep on going there?
The string held it.
Same thing, if you throw it in this direction too? Go ahead, try it. The string holds it back in each case, right?
Yeah.
All right, now, obviously there's a force that wants the ball, that you give the ball when it starts out in that direction, and there's an opposite force that holds it from going, and that could be represented by the string.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's kind of, in effect, throw it in all directions at once.
By spinning it.
Now, it wants to go off in all these directions, but it can't because of the string, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, now which was the heaviest, the string or the ball or the thing here?
The clay was.
Yeah, the clay, well, what happened? Did the clay get lighter or what?
It didn't get lighter.
The ball
but
get heavier?
No.
Well, something happened here. This clay is not falling. In fact, watch, I'll pick it up. I'll pick up the speed. You see, I can make it go up.
Yeah.
And if I stop the ball from going around, watch
Goes
what
down
happens
again.
to the clay. And now this is heavier again. So obviously we must have added some extra force to this, other than the force of gravity.
Uh-huh.
You know what that's called?
No.
Well, most people call it centrifugal force.
Uh-huh.
And that's the force that, well, it's the word that we use to describe the force that the ball tries to continue to go out in all directions, okay? Now, it really shouldn't be called centrifugal force. You know Dr. Seamus, my friend?
Yes.
Well, he says it should be called centripetal reaction, because there really is no such thing as centrifugal force. But most people call it that, and it's the force that the ball tends to go out in all these directions, and it overcomes the force of gravity in this case. All right?
Uh-huh.
Now, what will happen if we take that scissors over there on the desk and cut it right here?
The ball will fall down to the spool.
It will?
No, wait a minute. It'll fly off.
It's trying to fly off all the time, isn't it? The only thing that's holding it back is the string, so if we cut the string, it should fly off.
Yeah.
And then no force will be overcoming this, so the ball ought to drop. Well, let's try it. Here. You do this at your own risk, because we have no idea where the ball is going to go. It depends entirely upon where it is when you cut it. All right?
Right here?
Go ahead. Oh.
Oh, there
Didn't damage anything that time. Okay, anyway, you see now that we can now get a ball to overcome the force of gravity if we can somehow get it spinning.
Yes.
All right, now let's go back to that puzzle. All right, now, what's holding the two balls down here?
Gravity.
So what you do when you tip it this way is you're having gravity pull the ball down and drop it in there, right? And then what you're trying to do over here is to get gravity to pull it down over here. But, of course, gravity pulls down on this one at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, now what kind of a force can you use in place of gravity? Centrifugal force. Okay, now in order to get centrifugal force, you got to get those to spin. So hold it up here like this and spin it.
All right.
There, you did it.
There.
See? In other words, the two balls were trying to go this way in the same way that I had one ball trying to go in both directions kind of at once. Okay, so now you can even make one of these at home. They're not very difficult. And if you ever find the little ones, they're little plastic ones like this, and they have two little steel balls in them. You know how to solve the problem. Sometimes they're put on the table and you spin them like that. But the easiest way, like that. Okay. So centrifugal force now can overcome gravity. What's holding those little balls down at the bottom of the brandy snifter?
Gravity.
And how come the force of gravity is overcome when I turn it on?
Well, because they're trying to get out in all different ways. And the force from each different way is strong enough to support the balls.
And when we turn off this extra force that's making them spin and trying to fly away, why then, of course, they stop. In fact, watch this. You take these balls here. I'll turn on the thing, and you drop them in one at a time and watch what happens to them. Just wait again. Okay, now try that. Now notice how you're adding a lot of extra spin to the ball, a lot of extra energy. When you drop it in, only the force of gravity is pulling it down, and it's not going nearly as fast as when they finally touch the glass and start getting a push to the outside. Here, throw the rest of them in. They go in slowly, but they pick up speed very quickly. Okay. Now, this is fun for spinning balls in brandy glasses or solving puzzles. Let's put it to some practical use now.
All right.
Okay? Come on over here. I have a top, because that's one example of how this centrifugal force goes to work. Look at this top. If I spin it, what makes it stay there?
Gravity.
Well, gravity's holding it down, but why doesn't it? If notice it falls over this way. Why does it stay up when I spin it?
The centrifugal force.
Yes, you see the tops are usually made with a large section sticking out here, so as it spins, the large sections are trying to fly out in all directions, and that gives it stability. So that's what makes the top stay up, and what makes gyros work, and all this sort of thing. So you get it spinning there in the middle, and then I'm going to take some milk and pour it right on the top. Go ahead. Is that a good shirt?
Yeah.
All right. I'll try not to get it too filled with milk.
Okay.
Now watch. Get some on you?
Yeah.
Now, what happened when the milk hit this spinning thing?
Well, it went flying off.
Yes, it went flying in all directions. In other words, by using a spinning object like this, I can now take the liquid, get it to move from slow speed into high speed very quickly. See how you made a nice pattern all around here like that. Too much on your shirt?
No, not too much.
Now let's put this to some real practical use, besides in spinning tops. Let's see if we can't make a pump out of it. Come on over here. I'll show you a pump now that works on exactly that same principle.
Pump.
See, here in the drill, I have a coffee can with little slots cut in it and a wooden bottom on it so that I can spin it. Okay? Now, in this case, it's just like the top, or it's just like the brandy snifter over here. You take that water that's in here and pour it down in here. Now we'll have water going in a relatively slow speed.
Yeah.
And what should happen when it hits this rotating thing?
Well, it should become faster and shoot out through these
Okay.
slots here.
Pour in about half of it and let's see what happens. See?
Uh-huh.
Okay, now stop a minute. Now, this is a centrifugal pump, because if we had a casing around the outside here,
Yes.
and we had a hole in the casing, we could build up a tremendous pressure inside here, couldn't we? And the water would come out the hole at high speed. And gasoline pumps and several other types of pumps work on this principle. Go ahead, dump the rest of the water. Now I'll get it really going at high speed. And you watch how much force it comes out.
Okay.
Wait a minute. There?
Wow.
Really going on?
Yeah.
Okay, now that's one of the practical uses. Then there's another one that, I don't know, perhaps you never thought about it, that works on this principle, but maybe if I give you a clue as to... See those sponges down there?
Yeah.
Would you throw them in the water down here and get them nice and soaked full of water? And here's thing from a potato ricer. You put potatoes in there and squeeze them down, they come out these little holes.
Uh-huh.
But it's a hollow thing, you see, and with holes around, sort of like a tin can with holes in it.
And you put that onto the...
Yeah, I put that on the drill like this. Now, make sure that those sponges are good and wet. Okay, they're good and wet?
Yep.
Now, would you place them in that container there? Okay, now watch. See the water coming out here?
Yeah. It's coming out through the holes.
It's a little imbalanced. You see how my hand's shaking? I don't
Yeah.
want to go too fast. Okay, now take one of the sponges out. Try it. See if what did we just do here?
Well, we got rid of all the water.
Okay, try it one. Squeeze it one.
Well, there's a little left.
Almost. Now, how are we going to get rid of the rest of that water? In other words, how do we do it at home? What is this?
A clothes dryer.
Yes. Sometimes it spins this way and sometimes it spins this way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In a clothes dryer, and they spin around like this in order to get most of the water out. Then how do they get the rest of it?
Hot air?
You know, they use heat. And if we wanted to get rid of the rest of this water without using hot air, how could we do it? How about making this go faster? Wouldn't that do it? The faster
Yeah.
it goes, the more force there would be. Remember when I was spinning the ball, the faster I made it go, the higher, the weight would go. But I'm afraid to make this go too fast because I'm afraid it would break the dish and whatnot. So there are two practical uses of this thing called centrifugal force. One, a centrifugal pump, and the other, the clothes dryer that are right around the house. Now here's another one over here. Well, let's go back to this one. If you go up into outer space,
Yeah.
you go where there's no gravity.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, if these little balls down here were men, they wouldn't be held down here, would they?
No, they wouldn't.
Because there wouldn't be any gravity. They could fly all around all inside here. So now how we have to create an artificial gravity. How would you suggest that we do this to this spaceship?
By spinning it.
In other words, this would no longer be the bottom, would it?
No.
But the men could now walk around the sides here. There they are. See, they're all walking around the sides. So by getting a spaceship to spin, you could create an artificial gravity.
Uh-huh.
And this would be the bottom then, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Now, in fact, they're coming back down to Earth.
Yeah.
Gravity's taking over again. You should have probably thought about this because this is very much like the moon. What holds the moon up in the sky, you know?
Centrifugal
Well,
force.
that's what holds it from crashing into the Earth. And the gravity pulling on it is what holds it from flying out into outer space. And its own centrifugal force, or centrifugal reaction, is what keeps it from crashing into the Earth. So the combination of the two. How about the planets around the sun? Same idea.
Same idea, yes.
Same idea. So this is a sort of thing that man is going to be able to do when he wants to get up there and create his own gravity. He will use centrifugal force. Now, see this?
Yeah.
This milk? Would you take that and pour in, a little bit while I turn it on. Wait till I turn it on. Now pour it in. One more. That's enough. I thought you were... Why didn't it go down to the bottom?
The reaction.
Yeah. And what happens if I stop it?
Goes back down.
It goes back down again. Now, which is heavier, milk or cream?
Milk.
If you have a bottle with whole milk in it and it's not homogenized, pretty soon the cream comes to the top.
Yeah.
Right? Well, this is salad oil. Is it heavier or lighter than water? Oil will it float on top of the water or go to the bottom?
It'll float on top.
Oil floats, and that's one of the reasons cream does it, because it has a lot of butterfat in it.
Yeah.
So I colored this so we could keep track of it. But it's ordinary salad oil, just colored. I'll turn this back on, and you pour this in there. Watch what happens. Okay, go ahead. Don't touch. Okay, stop a minute. That's enough. Hold it. Trying to get rid of this little line up here because it shouldn't belong there. Well, now, here, tell me now, what's going on here? Why is it that we have black on top and bottom, and look on the inside? You can't see the milk in here, can you?
No.
Only this little rim in here, which I can't get rid of. How come? What's going on here? Why is it that you see black top and bottom if this is supposed to be lighter, and you can't see any milk on the inside there? Yeah, I'll see if I can explain it to you by putting something else here in this spinning drill. Because so far we haven't thought about what happens if you put two different size weights in the thing that you're spinning. You see this tube?
Yes.
Well, if I put that in there and we get ready to spin it, see there's two weights inside here? I have a black band around each one. Here's a light weight and a heavier weight.
And a spring.
And there are two springs in there holding it. Now, if we spin that around, these two are going to go out, aren't they?
Yes.
Just like the balls did in the glass. Which one will go the greatest distance?
The heavy one.
Why?
Well, the heavier something is, the more power.
In other words, when we had that ball back there, if we had a big heavy ball, like a bowling ball, and I threw it, it could even break the string, couldn't it?
Yeah.
While a light ball wouldn't go, wouldn't have as much force in that direction. Well, that seems logical. Let's see if you're right. I'll turn it on, and we'll watch what happens. See anything happening yet?
No, not really.
Yep.
Snap
Went in.
back.
Did it again.
There.
Now, see, this one got caught out there. And what happened before, when it snapped back, it evidently didn't get it, right, and it jumped back. This one went out so far, it got out here and got caught.
Yeah.
And this one did not. So therefore, I think you were probably correct, don't you think?
Yeah.
That the heavier something is, the more centrifugal force will seem to act on it, and the further away it will go from the center of rotation. All right, now let's compare that to the milk and my black cream. Thank you. Now you can hardly see the milk because it's on the bottom and it's kind of all covered with black oil or cream. Now, the center of rotation is right through here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right through there. If we have something that's heavy and we have something that's light, we found out from the tube that the heavier it is, the further away from the center of rotation will go.
Yeah.
Well, in this kind of a glass, where's the greatest distance from the center of rotation?
Right about there.
Yeah. In other words, this is the greatest curve, right?
Yes.
The distance. You hold your finger right there, but don't touch the glass because I want to start it. I want you to just mark that spot with your finger. You mark it right there.
That's where the milk should be.
That's where the milk should be. Is that where the milk is?
Yep.
Okay. Now, why?
Well, because milk is heavier, and that's the farthest point from the center of rotation.
Now, if this were a combination of milk and cream, we could make a thing that looks something like this, and we could have a spigot out here, and if we turn it on, we could now run off all the milk. And that would be a cream separator. And that's how they really do it. You've probably never seen one in a farm, but one time they were hand-operated, and later on electrically operated, and they separate cream this way, even commercially. So here we have another example of how you can use centrifugal force.
It's pretty good.
Well, if it's true that you could separate things like milk and cream, maybe you could separate things that were very close to each other in weight, but not quite the same weight. For example, you see over here, see this jar full of stuff?
Yeah.
Well, this is sand and baking soda and sort of plain old dirty water, like from a pond.
Yeah.
Watch what happens when I shake it up. Now, what forms down here first?
Sand.
Why?
Well, it's the heaviest.
It's the heaviest, okay. So that's going to be pulled down first. Now, you see there's a little white thing starting along here? What's that, do you suppose?
The baking soda.
Yes, the baking soda, because that's the next in weight. There, you can see quite a nice white line here. And it's getting a little lighter up here.
Yeah.
So now that means that the second heaviest thing in this combination was the baking soda, and we're now beginning to get a layer of that. Notice up here, though, that it's still rather colored. It's not completely clear.
Yeah.
So that means it's the third thing in there. Tiny, tiny little particles of silt or like clay. So they'd still be up there.
Yeah.
So, but the point I want to make with this is that using gravity, you can now separate things into layers. And if we wanted to separate the sand and the baking soda and the silt, all we'd have to do is let them get into layers, and we could then take the layers apart.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, we'd have to sit here for a while and wait, because gravity's not working too hard here.
No, it isn't.
How could we get a force that would be stronger than gravity?
Well,
How did we overcome the balls over there lying in the bottom of the thing? By centrifugal force.
Yeah.
All we'd have to do is spin these. Now you can see we have a nice band there. See how
Yeah.
nice? That band is nice and white. Well, let's see if we can't use this system now and separate something from water, but make it separate faster by using centrifugal force.
All right.
All right? Here are 3 test tubes that are rather strangely shaped. Notice they're pointed on the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, the reason they're pointed at the bottom is that they're a special kind of test tube. Would you take those 2 and shake them up, turn them upside down, because I have aluminum powder, you know, like they put in paint?
Yeah.
Very lightweight, fine particles of aluminum. We want to shake them all up to get them all distributed throughout the water. Here, give me that one. I'll shake that one. Here, I'll put that one over there.
Right there.
Now, if we wanted to wait maybe overnight, why, eventually the aluminum would settle out like this.
Yeah.
But in order to speed it up now, we'll put it in a thing called a centrifuge. Centrifuge. And that's what it's sitting on right here.
Oh.
There. Inside here are little metal containers that look something like test tubes, don't they?
Yeah.
But they are to protect the tube, so in case it would break, it wouldn't go flying out. And there are 12 of them in here, so you can do 12 test tubes at once. But here, you put this one in one of the holes. Okay, now, in order to balance it, you put the other one just exactly on the opposite side. You put that one in at 4, so the other one should go in here at 10. Okay.
There.
Now, all we have to do is spin it. Down on the front over there is a dial. You want to turn it on?
All the way?
All the way.
There it is.
Feel the air coming out there? That's why these little holes are on the side, because as this goes around, it's like a fan. It's whipping up a lot of air, and it's coming out the side. Really is going.
It sure is.
That's going about 3,000 revolutions per minute.
Wow.
So let's let that. Now, scientists use this kind of thing when they want to separate 2 different weight molecules, for example, a heavy molecule and a light one. And instead of standing around waiting for it to settle by gravity, they put it in this and increase the gravity 3, 4, 5, 10, 100 times sometimes. In fact, there's another centrifuge that's more complex than this. It's called an ultra-centrifuge. It goes around so fast that they have to take all the air out from inside. Otherwise, as it would go around, it would heat up so much it would burn. So they have to do it in a vacuum. And that goes up to 60,000 times a minute. Spinning around. Okay, you want to turn it off now?
Takes time to slow down.
Yes. Of course, this is around the outside, so in case there's any danger, you know, it should break or something while you're protected.
There.
Okay, you want to take those 2 test tubes out? Here's one. And let's bring them up and put them in here so we can compare them to the one that's been sitting.
Quite a difference.
Yeah, you see the difference?
Uh-huh.
Because we were able to increase the force on it. We deposited there. You see the aluminum at the bottom on each one of those that we'd spin around. If you let it on longer, we'd probably clear the water up even more.
This is just about all water, and that's just about all aluminum.
Okay, so this is now how scientists use this idea of the centrifuge. Let me get it down here before I bring it.
Okay.
Now, when you came in, I asked you how you're going to solve that puzzle, and you didn't even know, and it's now, you know, what is this called? Centrifugal force, most people call it. And what does Dr. Seamus like us to call it? Centripetal reaction, that's right. And it's the force that makes the ball tend to go out on a straight line and fly in all directions. And when you get something spinning fast enough, it'll overcome the force of gravity, won't it?
Yes.
And in fact, we use that in a cream separator, in clothes dryers, in a centrifugal pump, and in the centrifuge, which is the thing that scientists use to separate and overcome the force of gravity and keep it going even. And also, they'll probably use it in outer space.
Yes.
As an artificial gravity. And my version of it here, the one I like best, is the one with the brandy snifter and the white balls.
Yeah.
So let me get it set up again. This time, you put them in, will you? Let me get the balls there.
All of them?
Well, keep putting them in one at a time. Let's see what happens. Go ahead.
Watch Mr. Wizard is presented each week at this time by the Public Affairs Department of the NBC Television Network in cooperation with New York University.